Good afternoon. This is Animal Uncontrol. I'd like to apologize in advance for some poor audio quality on this video. It's mostly good. In a few places, there's some echoing and some background noise, but it's only temporary. It's not throughout the entire video. It sort of comes and goes, mostly goes. So in any case, apologies in advance and enjoy the video. Particularly this next lead-in. You'll love it.
Guten Tag.
Good day.
My name is Professor Guy Gadbois, medieval castle authority from Marseille. Tell me, do you have a ring?
I do not know what a rum is.
Zimmer.
Ah, a room.
That is what I have been saying, you idiot. Ring. Zimmer. Does your dog bite? Oh? Nice dog. I thought you said your dog did not bite.
That is not my dog.
1. Good morning. This is Animal Uncontrol. Welcome to the voice chat. These calls are pre-recording for uploading to social media, and by joining a call, you're consenting to being recorded. Anyone wishing to join a call should email me at animaluncontrol@gmail.com, and I will reply with instructions. Today's topics: public service announcements, shit talking, and the Kristi Gnome mutt meltdown. Joining me is Sheepie. What is up?
Hey, good to be here. It's been a little while, but I think this will be a great episode.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Got a lot to say.
Yeah, it's interesting. You've been sharing some videos in the Discord of your dog hoarder neighbor
Oh my
with the
God.
dogs at large. If you want to talk about that situation.
Yeah. So as everyone has probably already heard, my completely level 10 nutter neighbor has at least a dozen dogs at all times. And lately she's really taken to just letting them loose, like the pit bulls especially. It's always 3 pit bulls and a Great Dane that she lets just run around in her front yard area. But of course, they don't stay constrained to the front yard. And, my mailbox and the trash pickup and stuff is adjacent to that. So I don't want to walk down unarmed to even check my mail because I don't know if her freaking pack of dogs is running loose or not.
Yeah.
So anyways, I got fed up. I mean, I was already fed up, let's be honest, but I finally decided to try and escalate this. So I called the county, sheriff's office, and they got me in touch with a deputy. And I actually had a kind of a good call with him. So he was telling me that over his I think he said 15 years being out here as a sheriff's deputy in this rural area, he was like, the number of calls I would not have to have gone on if people would just keep their dogs put up. I mean, he was fully commiserating with me, and he literally told me, if you need to carry your handgun with you to check your mail and you have to defend yourself, you are fully within your rights to do so. Which I already knew. And he said that the sheriff's department has actually gone repeatedly to, who would it be, the county commissioner or yeah, begging basically for them to get some kind of animal control out here, because he told me he couldn't do anything about my neighbor because it's not illegal here to have your dogs off leash.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, even in a lot of places, animal control, it's just controlled by dog nutters anyway. Um, so you have to get somebody that would actually do the job. But yeah, I noticed too, is on your one video you shared, because you're in your car, and you can see, they're just a whole pack of pit bulls just running down the side of the road. One of them looked like it had recently given birth. It
Oh
had really
yeah.
engorged teats. So are they breeding these things also? I mean,
See,
apparently,
that's the other
yes.
thing. Yeah, sorry. I asked that to the sheriff too. I brought that up because yeah, one of the pit bulls that was running loose literally had like swinging teeth, like dragging on the ground, like either was about to have puppies or had just had a bunch of puppies. And
Yep.
so I tried to use, because we all know the only thing that they actually care about is like so-called animal cruelty or whatever.
Yep.
So I thought that might be a better way for me to get some attention out here. So I said that on the phone. I was like, I'm really worried. Like maybe she's even hoarding dogs and like keeping them in these cages in her garage. And I was talking about how she like sprays like the shit out all over the driveway. I was trying to go at it from all angles, like
Yeah.
biohazard, animal cruelty, and just like dogs at large or whatever. Uh, but yeah, so it looks like she might be breeding them. And I think that's why those particular ones are the ones she keeps in the garage. Because, like, I think I've told you guys, like, she has this huge fenced, like, Jurassic Park type fence in her backyard with a bunch of dogs. And then she also has chain link kennels inside the garage, where she keeps these pit bulls in particular. Um, and the Great Dane is like, it's kind of creepy because that seems to be her favorite because that's the one that's with her like at all times. And it's freaking ginormous.
Top dog.
Yes, it's her favorite. I think it's her like boyfriend. Like,
Well, the husband's away, I guess.
dude, he's never here. We were
Well,
actually me and
isn't he on deployment for the military? Didn't you say that at one point, or is that the thought? Or maybe he just lit out. Maybe he's just gone. You there?
yeah, I'm here. Sorry
Hey,
if I dropped off for a second.
that's all right.
No, yeah, me and Mr. Sheepy yesterday were like, are they getting like divorced? Because the dude is like almost never here anymore. But I don't think he's like fully deployed because his vehicle every once in a while shows up. And I'm like, is he just like moving out? Like, is he
Well,
fed
that's the
up with
thing
all the
is maybe
dogs?
it's a Tales from the Doghouse scenario. She's the nutter and he's not, and he's like, I can't take it.
I couldn't, dude. Their yard is like, I think I sent you guys have seen that
Yep.
last summer they at least like mowed the lawn and stuff. So far this summer, we've had to mow like four or five times now. They have not mowed once. Their yard is like grass and weeds that are like 3 feet tall. It is literally like a Jurassic Park situation right now.
Jeez. Well, going back to the animal cruelty angle, that's an angle you can work. Probably the best folks to contact for that would be SPCA or, HSUS, the Humane Society. They'll pursue something like that. They'll also look into, I guess at one point there was a suspicion they were connected to dog fighting, which I guess may not be the case, but you never know. And they'll prosecute things like that. The sheriff probably isn't all that interested unless they're actually doing something illegal like hosting dog fighting. But yeah, the whole animal cruelty and neglect angle, that might be worth contacting, Humane Society or SPCA. So yeah, it's nasty. You got to go through that. They blight neighborhoods with these things. That's terrible.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess it
just like,
sounds like maybe she'll go bankrupt and just have to move away. But unfortunately, almost every neighborhood has somebody like that. They got the
I
quote
know.
rescue angel with the 20 out of control pit bulls. And and it shouldn't be allowed. If it was anything else, and I always emphasize this, it would be shut down. Boom. But if it's anything to do with a dog gets a pass. That's
Yep.
the policy, unfortunately. And it's good that police are going to the county commission. And yeah, they need to, pass some rules that can be enforced, because if what they're doing is technically legal, then really, I guess, the police could be creative and try to go after them. But, that's the thing is, dogs and dog owners are protected to a ridiculous degree. That's why we have these problems.
If for sure. The only thing good about the call with the sheriff's department and the deputy was that it at least sounded like he agreed with me. You know what I mean? Like he
Right.
didn't do anything, nothing happened, but at least it sounded like, and I feel like that's, there's probably a lot of dog nutters that are cops, like we all know that.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like
Yep.
also, since they're the ones having to like respond to people's homes and calls more often than the average person, like they see more than the average person. Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? I think there's probably a lot of them too who are like, oh my God, these dogs are like such a problem. At least that's how he came across to me, especially when I was talking about how they were pit bulls, because he's been apparently like, he's seen like dog bites. And I mean, I know in this area there is like a girl my daughter's age at her school who literally her face is like permanently disfigured because of the neighbor's pit bull.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me. I have a short little anecdote too the other day from my other daughter, which it was her classroom teacher was talking about how when she was a little girl, she got attacked by her neighbor's pit bull, and she showed the kids like she has like a permanent scar on her leg.
Jeez.
It was like all like just my daughter was like it looked so like crazy. And anyways, I've talked to my daughter a ton about this dog stuff, and she was just like telling the teacher like, yeah, pit bulls are terrible and dogs are dangerous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's yeah, well, it's good that word's getting out. It's good that the police are at least sympathetic, because normally it'd be like, oh, well, you just need to go talk to them. Or, those are just dogs being dogs. Unfortunately, too many cops are nutters. So,
yeah, he wasn't at all like that. He even said like he called me on the phone and was like, I'm not gonna come to your house in my like cop car. So just so the neighbors don't see that I came there. Like,
oh,
I don't know.
that's
He
that's
was like,
very thoughtful. Yeah, that's very
yes.
thoughtful.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe he knows about nutters. Like,
Well, yeah, maybe we should get him on one of these calls.
I know.
I think there's way more people are sympathetic to our narrative than we think. It's just that, well, of course, that because see, he knows that, what a sort of pervasive, and toxic influence dog culture is. Like, even if he can't really articulate it, he kind of gets it. Lots of people do. I want to talk about that some more, I guess, later in the call. But actually, pursuant to that, I wanted to segue into the PSAs. I have a couple of PSAs. One is you go. There's a Reddit called Puppy Search. And what it does is it links you to Craigslist locations. So at the US, there might be something similar in other countries. So I'm on Puppy Search. I'm going to navigate to my state. I'm going to go to Florida. And then, I don't know, index, I got to go again. So scroll down to my general area. Okay. So scroll down to your whatever your nearest big city is. Okay. Now it's coming up. So what you want to look for is anybody, selling dogs. I can say any pet, but you look at all these. So Craigslist, it's against Craigslist policy to sell pets. They allow a small, quote, a small rehoming fee. Of course, what is a small fee can be kind of subjective. But I think if they're asking more than $100 or so, you probably have a puppy mill, like right here. $300 puppies. The other thing you see here is does the folks see, do you see there's a common thread here? Bullies, pit bull puppies, puppy pit bull, 2 Merle female pit bully, 1-year-old Cane Corso XL bully mix. Now there's a winning combination. Can't go wrong with
That
that.
is freaking terrifying to me. That
Yep.
these or Cane Corsos or whatever
Yeah,
are becoming
XL.
increasingly more, I guess, common.
Yep.
There
Yeah,
was
they're
a lady mauled, almost a mauled by one of these things in a Oklahoma City animal shelter, like
yep.
last.
Yeah. So I say a pup, but it's see all this stuff. It's all these. Look at this. $3,000 for XL. So if you find these, you click on them and flag it. $3,000.
Are people actually paying that for these
Well,
things?
that's a good. I think what happens is yeah, they have a litter of 8 of them. Maybe they sell 1 or 2, but the rest of them get dumped at the shelter. That's why our shelters are overflowing. So, if you flag this, so if I flag it, okay, so it's flagged, and it looks like it already took it out. So you just got a line through it. So you go, so just do that. If you got a little filler time, here's another one. Micro bullies for $1,800. Like these are really obviously puppy mills. So I'm going to flag that. That's flagged. So yeah, folks, go into your area, bully pup. But that's the other thing is who would buy something that's being given away? Almost all our public shelters are overflowing with pit bulls and the like. And and they have again nominal rehoming fees, maybe $50 to $100. Often they waive the fee, so you can get pit bulls for free. Here's another one: blue bully pit bull, $1,000. Yep, flag that one.
My God. Okay, so you can flag it because is it not allowed to sell pets on Craigslist or
Yeah,
what?
well, it's against, like I said, it's against Craigslist policy to sell pets. They do sell a rehoming fee. So if this was $50, it might be legit, or $100 even, but $1,000, they're definitely selling this dog. Anything with puppies, even these white pit bull, male pig, and pit bull. Look, it's all pit bull puppies, $300. More pit bull puppies. Sometimes it doesn't say how much they are. The smarter ones say, call for price or for rehoming fees. They don't actually advertise that. But even these rehoming pit bull puppies for $475 each. So boom, flag that one. Okay, so that's the first PSA. So folks, like I said, if you want it, maybe I'll back up and run through it again. So let's get out of here. So yeah, you want to go to where you index, navigate to your state, and then navigate to your nearest big city. Bullies. Here's 27 minutes ago. I mean, just even as we've been having this conversation, something else has just popped up. Bullies. It probably doesn't say how much they are. Got 2 bullies. Male 6 months, female just turned 3, 1 litter. Okay, I'm looking to go smaller. Look, so this person has been breeding them, but they're not asking for a price. So this may be at least technically legit. But you can see, look, they've been breeding this dog. See the swollen teats down here?
Yes, that's exactly how my neighbor's one looked.
They've been breeding. And the thing is, it's interesting. It was who was doing it? Was it Canine or Dog Culture Review? Shout out to those two. They're both on fire. They're in fuego, but they were bringing up, or maybe it was I Hate Dogs. I forget. There's too much anti-dog content out there to keep up with. But it was, I think it was the director of the San Diego Animal Shelter was like saying, yeah, we're at 150% capacity, and we're literally begging the community to adopt these dogs. We're literally pleading with people, please come adopt these dogs. They need homes. And you know what? Screw that guy. It's the same thing. It's throughout dog culture is they never put the blame or the responsibility on the people who are actually causing or enabling the problem. Okay, what they need to do is start pleading with people like this to stop breeding them. We don't need more pit bulls. Okay, And if you look at some of the comments sections on those, actually, I didn't bring that up. I should have. But then you got all the dog nutters are in the comments section saying, oh, yeah, the government should pass laws like, forcing, landlords and homeowners associations to allow dogs, right? Because it's their fault that we have this dog overpopulation problem. And the thing is, so what they're trying to do is artificially stimulate demand by making it easier to own them. So yeah, if you're a landlord or on an HOA board, you must allow them. You're being forced by law to accept them. And I'm thinking, you know what? Instead of that, right? Because you've already got an anarcho tyranny type situation, right? Where dog people can just do whatever they want with no consequences, but everyone else is restricted and even forced to accommodate them. Instead of applying more rules on everyone else, why not apply some rules to the dog owning population? How about we make dog breeding a formally permitted activity? Like we do, if you want to own a bar, say, right, you need a liquor license to serve alcohol. Why don't they need a license to do this? But they don't. That's never the answer. The answer is always just to, impose more of a burden on everyone else. And I call BS. No, we need to stop burdening everybody else and put the responsibility where it belongs on the people breeding these things, period.
Yep, but it's part of their like religion and cult. Like they can't. It's almost like they can't conceive that anyone doesn't like love and want and be obsessed with these like creatures.
Yeah.
Like they've made it their like life's mission. You know what I mean? Like my neighbor.
Yeah.
Like what does she have going on in her life other than these freaking dogs all the time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like she has like there's never any visitors, it seems like to me. Like her husband doesn't even seem to want to be home. You know what I mean? Honestly, like he's never there. He's not deployed, I don't think. He's just stationed at a local Air Force base. Like I think he just doesn't come home. Like, and I don't.
He's probably
blame him.
going to his superiors. He's like, please send me anywhere. I'll even go to Alaska. Like, send me to Antarctica. Any place is better. Any place is better than here.
Exactly.
I'll take a lifetime deployment to the North Pole or something.
Dude,
anything.
Honestly, imagine like, I think for most people, they at least want their homes to be kind of like their space to relax, like
Yep.
We all have to go work or do whatever things we don't want to do. We'd like to be able to come home and just sit down and chill, right? But imagine like instead of that, you worked at an Air Force base, you're stressed, like you've been there all day, and then you come home and your home is a complete disaster. Your wife stinks like dog, like there's dog everywhere, there's dogs barking, like it's more stress. I'd just turn around and go back to work, like at that point.
Yeah. Well, it's maybe a Tales from the Doghouse. Crazy. So anyway, I got another PSA. It's actually similar to this one. So, but in any case, yeah, go to Craigslist and flag anything. Again, I just did another one. Bully pup for $1,000. This is a backyard breeder selling dogs. The other one I wanted to talk about was, I got too many windows open. Where is that? Dogs Bite. Where is, no, that's not it. Oh, shoot. I lost my place here. Did I accidentally? Oh, this is what I want to look at. The other thing folks should do is, if you're on some of the dog critic Reds, say Tales from the Doghouse or Dog Free, I've noted recently they've been getting trolled quite a bit by dog nutters with the usual, insipid deflections and excuses. There was another one. I know you'd appreciate this. It was a Tales in the Doghouse scenario where, a woman was pregnant. I think she'd had one child with this man and she was pregnant. And he brought home a dog that she didn't want, right? She was opposed to it. She didn't want the dog. And then he basically breaks up with her. He moves out, but he doesn't take the dog with him. And
what a freaking nightmare scenario.
yeah,
Oh
well,
my
the thing
God.
is, folks, and in a way, it's not though, because it's sort of like if you're broke up, if the relationship is terminated, in a way, you're free because the dog, she can do whatever within
Yeah,
the
at least you
law.
could get
She can get rid of it, and that's what I said. It's like just dump it, just take it to it was a pit bull also,
of course. What
and
else?
I think he claimed it was an ESA, it was an
Oh
emotional
God.
dog, and so, but I said, but then all these trolls come in and say, "Oh, you just got to get the dog more training. You need to, need to be compassionate. Think about poor Fido's going to have no place to live. Like, screw that. Just you don't want the dog. The dog has literally just been abandoned at your place. Get rid of it. You've got zero obligation to take care of this thing." The only obligation she has is like, yeah, don't just take it out into the country and dump it or anything, but just take it to the shelter and just, bring it and say, we're not taking new intakes. Just leave it there anyway. It's not your problem.
Yeah, 1,000%. I have noticed that too, like, especially dog free recently. I don't know why, but there's been a lot of like, I guess just like trolls on that sub recently, which is strange. I don't know what's going on, but it's been kind of weird to read through a bunch of the comments when they are things like, well, have you considered, training? Like, no, why should she consider any of that? Why would she consider any? Did you consider that she didn't ever want the dog in the first place? Like, did you consider that she's already pregnant? Like, did you consider that these things are like, like you just showed like a literal dime a dozen, like worthless? There's no reason you should dump any of your own time and resources into that.
Well, particularly if she doesn't want it. She doesn't want it. Like, why should she, take care of an animal she doesn't want? Like, too, is like she has like literally zero obligation. Actually, she has a negative obligation to this thing. She has less than no obligation, in my opinion. But yeah, they've been coming out of the woodwork. Because that was the point I was making, was a ton of trolls came out. Oh, he just needs more training. He should go to the vet. Maybe you could take him to doggy daycare and all that stuff. That's expensive.
Right. And you got expenses related to like pregnancy and childbirth. Just
yeah. Oh yeah.
Nothing else
even if she was single, even if she was single without kids, she should still get rid of it. Unless as long as provided she doesn't want it, she's got either that take it to the pound or just bring it to wherever he's at, just tie it to his doorknob and walk away. That might not be doable. But anyway, yeah, so I always go, like, if you look at this one here, and it's going to segue into our next topic, was this person, I don't even know why I erased their username. They probably deserve to get counter trolled. Wild dog waste, because I think the topic was, dog shit and piss everywhere. While dog waste is damaging to local biodiversity, it is also fertilizing. So it helps contribute to carbon reduction in a small way. No, there are here he goes with a relative privation fails. There are far more damaging things to be protesting. And pet waste is a small candle next to the uncontrolled forest fire that is transport and industrial emissions. Well, transportation and manufacture of goods are good things, right? And so you could say, yeah, those things are problems also, but there's countervailing benefits to them. Whereas like your neighborhood shit mutt does nobody any good. Okay, so again, it's a false equivalence, it's a relative privation fail, and this is what I wanted to talk about, the fertilizing aspect of this. It was interesting. Dog Culture Review, I guess a week or two ago, he made some comments on that can you use poop as fertilizer? And the answer is it's a qualified yes. You don't just fling shit and piss everywhere and call it fertilizer. That's not how it's done. I was going to ask you, because you still have sheep, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've had chickens in the past, and you can't just put fresh chicken poop all over everything.
Yep.
You're like asking for like getting really sick. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Well, yeah,
Plus, it'll burn
exactly.
stuff up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing is like these guys, they think that we don't know shit, but actually we do know shit. And I wanted to make some remarks on that. So, like I said too, is we need to do like some serious shit talking because this is a narrative that needs to be countered. It's actually, and it's fairly new on their part. Like, because I think what's happened is there's a big pushback against dogs, particularly in urban areas, because the rate of dog ownership went way up during COVID. And that puts a lot of stress on these urban environments, like parks or common areas are just turned into, this crap and piss soaked mud puddles. One thing I wanted to bring up too, I know, shout out to Bad. I don't think he's on. Is he on this call? Did I close that window? Okay, yeah. So this is a video of his. Shout out to Ban All Dogs. And I've referenced this video before, but you see this is a frame from his video. On the bottom, this is his lawn, and this was taken in the winter, so it's not super green. It's a winter time. So the bottom, and you see, it's almost like somebody drew a hard line right where this fence is. Now, next door, neighbor has, I think, 4 or 5 large dogs. They're just endlessly pissing and shitting all over this small backyard. Does this look like nice, green, and healthy and vibrant to you?
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was well established that dog urine and feces is not good for good for plants or anything.
It's not. Yeah.
Also,
Well, that
how
was
is
a.
it possible
If,
to? Oh,
oh,
sorry.
sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, how is it possible to simultaneously be like bad for biodiversity, but fertilizing or
Yeah.
whatever you said? Like, those things don't make sense because are plants and like is that not part of the biosphere? I mean, it's like killing
Right.
everything it touches.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, if you look at, this, I mean, clearly this is destroyed. This land has been completely befouled. This is a toxic waste site. So
It looks like somebody went back there and sprayed glyphosate all over the yard.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, or just like sprayed it with diesel fuel or something, Well, the interesting thing about I wanted to do a deep dive into the nature of using poop as fertilizer because I actually have sort of a background in that because like I said, I come from a family of horse people, and horse poop is often used as fertilizer. But again, it is, Dog Culture Review points this out. It's like, yeah, well, some poop makes better fertilizer than others, and you also need to manage it, right? You have to use it in a disciplined and organized way. And one thing that's important is that fresh poop and urine also, even from say a horse or a cow, that is not fertilizer yet. It has to compost, like the bacteria has to break it down for it to be usable, right? Because when it's in its fresh state, it's very acidic. The nutrients are locked up in it. So you need to age it. And how long depends on what climate you're in and a few other factors, but probably maybe a year or so. When I was a teenager, because my family had relocated to a rural area, I had a couple of part-time jobs in high school. I was actually working for veterinarians. And the one vet he was an equine specialist. He only treated horses. He also ran a commercial stable. And what was interesting was he actually sold the horse poop. He sold it to a mushroom farmer. The stipulation was that the horses be bedded on straw because the straw helped like aerate it, helped compost it. And this mushroom guy would come with a truck and a big clod. He would take it. He would, pay to take it. But I'm sure when he was back at his place, he let it, again, ferment and age sufficiently to the point that it actually became fertilizer. Okay. So you don't just spew shit everywhere. That is not fertilization. Moreover, in urban areas, like a sidewalk or an asphalt street does not need to be fertilized. So, yeah, what they're doing is not fertilizing. It's toxic to the environment. It's damaging to human health. It degrades human quality of life. It's disgusting. Even if you look at this, what I have up on the screen here, you could say, okay, this is just this dog owner's private property, but this is stinking up the entire neighborhood. And all this waste is, soaking into the soil. It's, running off into waterways and so forth. This is a big problem. But I wanted to, defeat the notion that this is somehow beneficial. Like if you have a yard full of your neighbor's dog crap, you're like, oh no, they say he's doing you he's fertilizing your lawn. Well, if it's such great fertilizer, why are there like dead patches where the dog has been pissing and shitting? If it's such great fertilizer, it's not. Moreover, if you look at this, I brought up dog poop is not recommended as fertilizer because it contains bacteria and parasites, dangerous, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody who takes, going back to my experiences with horse poop and cow poop and the like, is that nobody who is serious about gardening or agriculture is going to use dog crap as fertilizer, even if it's been sufficiently aged or composted.
No, because there's an important thing too with the diet of the animal. Like you'll notice that the animals you're talking about whose waste can be used as fertilizer after the aging process are ruminant herbivores.
Yep.
Like their poop is composed of literally just like digested grass.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like a dog waste and human waste and cat waste. I mean, if non-herbivore feces was a useful fertilizer even after aging, like there would be an industry for that. Don't you think? I mean, there's so much of it.
I think apparently, I guess some of them like try to do it because I've done a deep dive into it. But I mean, like I talk about, horse poop and cow poop can be sold. Like I said, like the mushroom guy up in New Jersey, they'll pay for it. But, he's not paying for dog. He's not going to dog kennels and saying, hey, can I buy your dog crap? Because that would not meet his needs. The only person who would actually try that or think it's a good idea would be a level 5 dog farmer. They're kind of like the service dog people. They think that dogs are perfect and they're the perfect solution to everything. So it's like, get a bunch of dogs and all the dog waste will, fertilize your vegetable garden or whatever, which really is nonsense because, you're right. I mean, you're talking, you want these large herbivores that just eat grass all day, like cows, horses. I have no experience with sheep, but I would imagine like sheep poop would be, again, pretty good fertilizer if it were managed.
Yeah, it is. It's literally like the equivalent, or like rabbits. I know a lot of people who use rabbit droppings as fertilizer or compost for their garden. Because what do rabbits eat? They eat grass and hay and stuff. Like they don't eat poop and vomit and like whatever dogs are eating all the time. Dead animal carcasses,
Trash. TV remote controls, blankets, pillows, shoes. Yes, I wanted to like defeat that note because you had nobody, and do what I do here is when somebody brings that up, you call them out on it. It's like dog crap is not fertilizer. The other point I'd like to emphasize too is it comes down to consent. It's like I've told my neighbors this. It's like, look, I never gave you permission to turn your dog loose on my property to crap. Okay. And don't bring up wildlife either. Don't let them pull that crap either. That there's a big difference between a domestic animal that's in custody of a human owner and a wild animal that's part of the natural environment, because they do that here. I've even shared this stuff on these calls, like because the next door, dog turd wars. And some people say, well, you get deer and turkeys or whatever. It's like, yeah, deer and turkeys. I live adjacent to a natural area, and I do get that wildlife on my property. And yeah, sometimes they poop. But that's, too, is that's part of the natural environment. It's like the rain. But there's clearly a distinction to be made between that and somebody turning their domestic animal loose on either public or private property to crap all over it. Because, yeah, as you noted, like the waste from humans and also, from domestic animals needs to be managed, right? This is not part of the natural environment. I'm wondering what would one of these clowns think if I were to take my RV to their property and dump the black tank on their yard? I say, hey, I'm
fertilizing it. Yeah.
I'm fertilizing it. Like, I'm doing you a favor. That stuff is nasty. But, and again, that waste that valve should never be open unless it's connected to a proper sewer system. But
right.
yeah,
I was going to say that too. Like, if anything, like if poop like that raw, just piles of feces and urine everywhere was so good for the environment and fertilizing, then why is human waste treated at all? Why don't we all just go outside and poop all over our yards and fertilize them?
and
It's just
neighbors
ridiculous.
it's like, yeah, I feel the urge coming on. I'm sure, the Earl next door won't mind if I drop a deuce on, right next to his front porch. I mean, he won't care, right?
It's just ridiculous. No one makes these claims. Like, the lengths people go to like justify dogs existing around us and in our environments is like just ridiculous.
Yep. It's the true with everything, the noise pollution issue, the dog attacks, they just normalized everything, say it's all good, right? Including, dogs attacking people. It's all justified, it's all good. It's like it's natural fertilizer, the sound is good for your body, the dog waste is good for your land. It's all good, But anyway, yeah, there's another narrative of theirs that needs to be rebutted. So, and yeah, they say if you think that it's okay for, to dump, for their dog to crap in your land, say, hey, you know what? How about if I have my septic tank pumped out and dumped on your property? Would you appreciate that?
It's good for your grass.
Yeah, it's good for your grass.
Yeah,
or really, what do we want?
I feel like they're not in good faith, even, like, you know what I mean? I feel like they're not. Do they actually even believe that? I don't know. Maybe
I think
they really
probably do. You're right. Well, probably maybe the level 5 dog nutters have perhaps, because some people, if you tell a lie often enough, some people will actually start to believe it. So I think there maybe are like your really hardcore dog nutters probably do believe that. But yeah, most of them, like this person here, this is why I just gave him a snarky reply, because they don't really deserve a respectful answer, because I'm pretty sure this is probably a level 4 nutter trying to deflect and confuse people with a lot of sophistry. But yeah. Yeah, but like look at this. Look at this. Dog piss and crap is so healthy for the land. That's why why you have this barren landscape here.
No, don't trust your lying eyes. That's a healthy, biodiverse, well fertilized. You could just grow a garden right in that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. You'll probably grow tomatoes the size of watermelons, or pumpkins.
Maybe that's the secret I've been missing in my garden. I should just start.
I guess, yeah.
Hey neighbor, can you hose some of that crap out onto my garden.
Yeah,
I've heard it's good.
Ugh.
No, it's
Ugh.
freaking disgusting, dude. Like, it's just, yeah. Well,
Yeah. Well,
I
but it's a
can't even
whole.
imagine believing that. It makes me think of the people who are like collecting their dog hair to like make sweaters or something. Like, it's completely insane. Like level 10. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
make make sweaters and blankets out of Fido's sheds. Uh,
see, they're
that's
useful animals. You can use them for fertilizer, for fiber. You
yeah.
can make sweaters out. Can you imagine? Oh,
Well,
well,
back
maybe
one
they
of
could be
my
good for
old
leather. I don't know.
it was
Maybe
one of
they're
my
also
my old blogs, and I did a video on it too. It's the best use for a dead pit bull, and one of the uses was compost. But of course, I recommended, you would have to, grind it up, aerate it, mix it, let it ferment. Because somebody, I think it was even this clown, made the point that, like all soil, well, really most soil, if you go into the forest, most of that soil is probably decomposed plant matter. But some of it's either, wild animal waste or perhaps even dead animals. But again, it's kind of going back to the using poop as fertilizer. You can't use like a fresh pile of crap from anything is not fertilizer. It has to be, managed. It has to be processed and used, in a disciplined and organized way. Mm.
if nutters had ever been in charge of society, like, you know what I mean? Like, we would all be dead if we listened to
Yeah.
it. Like,
Well,
we would have
it's kind
never,
of heading. It's kind of heading in that direction.
honestly.
Hopefully, it'll. I think it is. I think that the dog cult has had its day. I see increasingly desperate measures, from them, and I also see a lot more pushback. I'm hoping. I got fingers crossed. So I want to segue into the next topic because I know a lot of folks have been talking about that, and that was the Kristi Gnome mutt meltdown. And
Yes, I've been waiting for this.
yeah, I wanted to make a few remarks about that. I guess, and for folks who don't know, Kristi Gnome is the governor of South Dakota, and she was also, I guess, rumored to be a Trump VP pick. I don't know how likely that was because, the governor of South Dakota doesn't really have a lot of political capital. Unlike, say, the governor of California or Texas or Florida or one of your kind of major or larger states, not necessarily larger geographically, but larger population wise, with a lot of big cities, New York, maybe. Those are your like your celebrity governors, like South Dakota. Nothing wrong with it. I don't mean to insult South Dakotans, but it's not really all that relevant to the United States political landscapes. Anyway, Kristi Gnome is their governor. And let me see if I can clean up. I want to clean up my desktop here a little bit. Yeah, clean that up. The Kristi Gnome. Yeah. So, but in any case, she wrote an autobiography or published an autobiography recently. And in it, she made some remarks about a dog she'd had. It was a 14-month-old. I forget the breed, but it was intended to be a hunting dog. And the
It was like some
dog
kind of
had,
wire-haired pointer or something like that. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah, yeah. And in any case, the dog had killed multiple chickens. I guess because she'd brought the dog to a friend's farm. The dog ran over and started, killed a bunch of chickens. The dog had behaved dangerously towards her, tried to bite her and her children also, I believe. So she chose to mitigate that problem by taking the dog out back and shooting it in the head, right? Well, in the face, but if somebody's coming towards you and you shoot them in the head, you shoot them in the face, right? And And of course, there was a huge just backlash to this. The narrative was really from both sides, from all the political factions, was she murdered an innocent puppy. Now, I'd like to break down that narrative. There's three things. You've got murdered, innocent, and puppy, right? And that's a really dishonest narrative. It's distorted for political purposes. And when I say political, I'm not even talking about your usual partisan stuff. Like, it's not even just Democrats or even like Republicans who don't like her. It's coming from all over the place, but that's the narrative. But that itself is a political narrative, and that goes to the point I make that this really, while it's a very political issue, it's not really partisan. And so basically, they're making 3 points. The critics are saying the dog was murdered, the dog was innocent, and the dog was a puppy. I'd like to defeat those narratives. One, you can't murder a dog. You can only murder a human, right? Or perhaps you can kill a dog inappropriately, although I can't think of a bad reason to kill a dog. Oops, did I just say something? Hardy, har, har. And the other thing was that the dog was innocent, which it was not. It had, killed livestock and behaved dangerously towards humans. So it was not innocent. I mean, it's perhaps innocent in the sense that a dog is not a moral actor, but that doesn't matter. Clearly, this is an animal that will use violence to get what it wants, and that's unacceptable. The third one is that it was a puppy. The dog was 14 months old. But again, they're anthropomorphizing the dog there also, because dogs age a lot faster than humans do. It's not like she took a 14-month-old human out and shot it. In fact, it used to be the old rule of thumb was that dogs aged 7 times faster than humans. That say, okay, for like 7, 1 human year is equivalent to 7 dog years. But that's really not the way it works. The ratio is a lot higher when the dog is younger, right? So I did some due diligence on this. And I know, like with cats, for example, a 1-year-old cat is equivalent to about a 16-year-old human. So almost an adult, but not quite, depending on how you define adult. But then they age about so the first year they age 16 times faster than us. And then subsequently, it's about 4 times as fast. So a 2-year-old cat is equivalent to a 20-year-old. A 24-year-old cat is equivalent to a 3-year-old cat is equivalent to a 24-year-old human, and so forth. I hope I didn't mess all that up. Now, dogs are kind of similar, though it's a little more complicated because it depends on the breed. Some dog breeds age faster than others. So a 1-year-old dog is probably equivalent to a 15 to 17-year-old human, depending on the breed. And the dog was 14 months. So it was an adult or almost an adult. But the thing is, they're making it look like, she took a 6-month-old puppy and shot it for, peeing on the bath rug or something. And that's not what happened. So the whole thing has been completely distorted for political purposes from people throughout the political spectrum. This is our Twitter page. Why some people are upset about the 20-year-old story of Cricket, blah, blah, blah. And I think what she was trying to do was, or she sort of projects this image of this really kind of tough, no-nonsense cowgirl, sort of. That's kind of the vibe I get. I don't really know much about her. So, South Dakota, she's a South Dakota law states that dogs who attack and kill livestock can be put down. The thing is, that's not how the mutt religion works. And probably the criticism I would make of her is that she is the political savvy of a sea sponge, because she should have known that in the current zeitgeist, dogs are sacred animals. There is never a good reason to go kinetic against a dog in the minds of the nutters. Okay, that dog could be in the process of mauling a toddler to death. And if you shoot that dog, that is an act of pure evil. You are the spawn of Hitler and Satan. There's nothing a dog could do to justify this. Period. Okay, forget about killing. Lashida said, the dog killed 500 kindergartners. That still wouldn't justify it. And a lot of the narratives are coming back. Bullshit. You fucking murdered that poor dog because you said it was useless and untrainable. Well, it was that, plus it was these other things. You Trump-loving MAGA hag. Although I like this photo here. See, there she's playing skeet with a dog. It actually looks
Honestly, that's
kind
a
of
hilarious picture.
yeah. That looks like fun. We should do that. Paul.
I
So
wonder. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you're the most
I
hated
can-
person in America for a good reason. I suggest you get. Oh, she put this like I kill dogs. I had another meme that I put up on my page. But they keep saying things like, well, the dog needs. Well, you put down 3 horses, but that's what you do with animals. Even if they get too sick or too old, you put them down. I mean, you don't even have to. One cool thing about not killing a pet is I don't have to explain. So in any case, one point I'd like to make is that, yeah, she's, even for folks on our side who might have been political supporters of her anyway, you have to understand that this was a major botch. And this is somebody who really can't be trusted to sort of measure the political climate, if that makes any sense. Yeah, moved into it. Didn't take long for there's all this stuff. One of the few major that has had, well, that's probably part of it, but really it's just that, she murdered an innocent puppy. Why she did it. She's a spawn of Satan. You're the most hated person in America right now. Resign. Hard choices. Oh, some of this stuff is nasty. Some of this stuff, dude. Yeah, see, some political supporters, stop trying to justify shooting a puppy in the face, a psychopath. But here's the other thing I would say too is that this is not. I guess she's somebody who sort of lives in a bubble, right? This isn't 1980 when even somebody who liked dogs would say, "Okay, I guess it's unfortunate it went to that point, but she did what she had to do, right?"
Yeah, definitely. I think that the thing that stands out to me is like, I guess she must really be that out of touch
Yep.
with the current zeitgeist in
Yep.
most of the country. And that makes sense to me because South Dakota, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that a lot of people outside of like really rural or active like farming agricultural like communities like have an idea of what it means to have a dog that kills livestock. And
Yep.
she clearly just doesn't understand that the vast majority of the population in this country like doesn't live in that type of environment and has never lived or experienced that kind of environment. Because I mean, like, I grew up in the country and around farmers, and I heard stories basically like all the time of this exact scenario. Like, I worked at a farm for a while that had a dog chasing cows, and they had to shoot the dog. And it was
Yep.
just, yeah, we had to take the dog out, we shot it, and then we went on with eating lunch. I mean, it was just because it's obvious that a dog is literally worthless economically. You know what I mean? Like a cow is valuable. A
Yep.
cow, it weighs like 1,000 pounds. That's like, a few hundred, like several hundred pounds of meat you can get off it. This was a dairy farm. So you're
Yep.
talking about, milk, like several gallons of milk a day per cow.
Yep.
and then offspring. There's literally no world, there's no reality in which any dog is worth what one single cow on that farm was worth.
Yep.
But
Well, yeah,
people
that's the
don't
thing
understand
is
that
yeah,
at
they
all.
don't understand. Well, they don't because you know what? Because they're not accountable. Like if you look at a lot of these comments, the narrative is that, well, why didn't you take the dog for training or rehome it? Rehome it. Okay, so you want to dump a dangerous dog in somebody else's lap? That is totally unethical. And that was something that never happened either. I've shared the story when our family boxer bit me. Boom. Well, they didn't shoot her because we lived at the time in a crowded suburban area. Straight to the vet, hot shot, done. And nobody had a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. But now it's like, oh, you got to get the dog more training. You got to, or rehome it, or have it it's like bull crap. The thing is, the only people who suggest those things are the people who aren't accountable. Because yeah, if she sent the dog to another farm and it had killed a cow, are any of these idiots going to be accountable for that? Are they going to take responsibility? No. They're just going to sit in front of their computer on their phone and virtue signal all day. But you're right too, is they don't understand. The thing is, they don't even understand the consequences. They don't grasp the consequences of this type of situation.
Right, and the puppy, is 14 months old, and it's already like aggressive and killing livestock. It's only going to get worse. Like,
Yep.
people don't know. Like, do they not know? Like, the dog has game or whatever. It's got like drive.
Yep.
It's like a hunting dog. That trait is not going to like go away.
Yeah.
And the other thing is they're hypocritical because wouldn't it be cruel to take a hunting dog and like train it to the point where it had to like constantly like, I thought you're supposed to let a dog be a dog. So then what,
Yeah.
is she supposed to just let it kill chickens for its entire life because that's what makes it happy?
Yeah, as if these other animals, even we're talking about the poop, like, again, some of these like urban types, particularly some of these like loony animal rights types, they want to, eliminate, the domestication of animals, like basically terminate people like you. But they don't understand that even the poop is part of the whole cycle. You talk about the cow, that cow is going to poop out useful or what will become useful fertilizer, right? That's part of the whole thing. And so even if you're a vegan and you only eat organic vegan, what is that being grown in? Well, it's, nicely aged and fermented, probably cow poop or maybe chicken poop or something, right? It's part of the whole life cycle, but they don't understand that. They think that everything they need, and actually, I'm kind of going off topic because it's a big problem we have in our society right now. People have no clue the things that they depend on are made. None. They have no clue how their food is produced. They have no clue where their electricity comes from or anything else they use. They're just like completely vapid. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll drive an electric car that's good for the environment. Yeah, and where does that electricity come from? Leprechauns?
Right.
No, it comes from a power plant that's burning gas or oil. Dummies.
Right.
I mean, maybe it's a little bit better. Actually, I don't mean I was actually thinking of buying an electric car, but I'm doing it with the right set of expectations. I'm not saying, oh, I'm saving the planet. Bullshit, you are. And that's the same thing. A lot of these people, I only eat vegetables. Yeah, vegetables that, first of all, that are grown in manure produced by these livestock animals. Okay. And animals are killed in the production of the thing. That organic cornfield, what happens when hogs go into that field and start to tear it up? The farmer shoots them. That is what happens.
Right. No, you're supposed to let the hogs be hogs.
Now you're getting me on like one of my biggest pet peeves. They have no clue how anything actually works in the real world. None. And the point, what your point was, they don't know how farms and ranches work. They don't know how their food is produced. They don't know anything, yet they have these really strong opinions about it. Yeah, go work on a farm, do that. I mean, I might have been one of those people, but it's like my family transitioned to, an agricultural area when I was a teenager. And I worked for a couple of large animal vets. I used to, work on some of the nearby farms. And it was very enlightening, let's put it that way. Because I might be one of those people if it weren't for those experiences. That's going to tell those people, hey, dummies, go work on a farm for a year and learn something and then get back to us.
Right, exactly. Like they just don't, they really, that's one thing that came out of this whole Kristi Gnome thing for me is like exactly what you say, like, wow, the average the average person nowadays like really does not understand reality.
They don't.
Like they don't know what, because it's not just the loss of those like I don't, first of all, don't understand how you could just poo-poo that in the first place. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to let one worthless fucking dog like just kill 30, 50 chickens. You know what I mean? There's an entire like, but like you said, it's not just those chickens in that moment. There was a whole amount of economic and labor input into getting those chickens to that point. Then there's the future lot. Like you're basically starting from zero. Like you can't just go get a bunch of chickens and they start laying eggs. I mean, you could go buy chickens, but like what I'm trying to say is there's a whole like amount of like labor that went into that in the first place. And
that's the other thing too, is people don't get how hard farmers work.
No, and something like that is like devastating.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing too, was like, you know what? Most of these limp-wristed wet noodles, like these urban doofuses, they couldn't work on a farm for a year. They probably drop dead after 2 hours. Most of them.
Yeah. Well, and that's what pisses me off when I see like all these stories. And sheep aren't as big of an industry in the US. Like there are sheep here, but it's much bigger in like the UK. So you see all the time all the stories from the UK of farmers losing dozens of sheep. Like I just saw one I Hate Dogs shared, and it was like the moment a farmer is forced to shoot 2 XL bullies. Yeah. And it's like the story is like the tragedy is that he had to shoot these dogs. But then you look at the video and these freaking cops are walking past literally like the killing fields. Like there's bodies of sheep strewn about, like carcasses, bloody. You know what I mean? Just a terrible like nightmare scene. And then they cringe when they hear the gunshots and the dogs barking or whatever. And it's like, then you go inside the barn. There was like, I think over 100 sheep at that farmer's barn. There's bodies scattered everywhere. And not even to mention like the severely injured ones that are still alive, huddled all together. I mean, it's tragic. Yeah. Literally 0 dogs on the planet are worth, in my opinion, even one of those sheep. But then you find out that like 24 of them were pregnant ewes. Jeez. So, and a ewe can have 1 to 3 sheep, like lambs. So multiply that by like 1 to 3. You know what I mean? And then there's like 48 more that were like severely injured that could have died later. You know what I mean? And it takes 5 months for a sheep to gestate a lamb. So you've lost the entire life of that sheep, the life of all of the lambs that it gestated for the last 5 months. Like the farmer's caring for those sheep their entire lifetime in preparation for like the birth of the next generation of his sheep. And overnight, not even overnight, like in 10 minutes, a worthless dog can kill like 24 of them. Yep. And all of their offspring. You know what I'm saying? It's like a tragedy. Well, it's again, it's another big, you're right, it's another big doggy double standard really in the culture, because the tragedy wasn't that the dogs like ripped these other animals to shreds in the most horrifying and painful way possible. The tragedy was that the farmer had to go pew pew on them. That's right. What was bad. It's like, no, that's actually the good part. I mean, it would have been better if like nothing had happened,
But I mean, seriously, like if I were him, I would have gotten some satisfaction out of it. You know?
I would have. I would have absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, but then you're left with the like devastating, and it doesn't end there. Now you've got, first of all, the loss, the economic loss of the sheep, the economic loss of the ewes that were going to be born, and then the economic loss of like veterinary care for the ones that you're trying to like keep alive with their severe injuries. Then you've got like how do you dispose of a dead 200-pound
Yeah,
pregnant
well,
ewe?
that was yeah, I brought that up because like yeah, disposing. I know too with the horses. Even when I worked at the vets, it's like disposing of a dead horse is quite expensive. It's pretty involved. And not just all that, but it's got that somebody's productive life has been disrupted for no good reason. And that happens to us even with this stuff, even like with the endless barking. Why I like went ballistic on actually on two different neighbors across the street with the dogs. I'm trying to work here. Okay, I have I'm trying to make a living, and your worthless crap hound is interfering with that. It's unacceptable. And now, of course, we're talking about with the ranchers. I mean, yeah, that's a true horror. But that's what it is. Here you got somebody who's just trying to make a living in a productive way, and the whole thing is turned upside down by crap hounds.
I mean, it's enough to send people into a depression.
Oh yeah.
Like their livelihood, and it's sad. It's horrible to see. It's terrible. I mean, it's like a massacre, and farmers know their animals. I'm not saying that they're like pets or something, but you go check on them. You can see, oh, this one's acting a little bit off today. I better check it out. Like you care for them. You're like, people just, I don't know, dude. Imagining that like having a pet dog like out of control running around killing things is like equivalent somehow or like more valuable than like a farmer with 100 sheep. Like I just can't even believe it's like our world is inverted. Like dog culture has made our world inverted, and it's like
Well, the thing is like when I wrote the 10 Commandments. The thing is, they're in their mindset that the life of each individual dog is of infinite value. And of course they're all perfect. They can do no wrong. So it's all justified. Oh, they're just dogs being dogs. They just want to play or whatever. Going back to all that though is like going back to deleting the thing, the Kristi Gnome situation. A lot of times when we criticize dogs in society, people they kind of wave it off as I'm really getting a lot of echo. Could you go on mute
myself real quick?
Yeah, try to mute yourself, see if that helps. How about now? Okay, that's probably where the echo was coming from. So they always sort of put the blame on, quote, irresponsible owners in a passive aggressive way. But they never say, okay, how do we identify these irresponsible owners? What do we do with them once they've been identified as irresponsible? But here you have somebody, whatever else you can say about her. I'm not trying to endorse her or not. That said, she tried to do the right thing. She didn't rehome the dog. She didn't keep it around to attack people or other animals, right? She put it down, to stop, prevent any future harm from that situation, right? So here you have an owner who's actually trying to be responsible, and she gets like blasted for it. Unlike this case, because there is a dog bite related fatality this past week where a 4-day-old newborn was mauled to death by a family husky. Now, the thing is that this dog was a repeat offender. Here's somebody. My sister lives next door to these people, and this dog has killed multiple animals of hers and her old man's. This is so sad. They should have done something with the dog before it, quote, done this. Okay. The dog has attacked multiple people. It's not an isolated incident. This is why this attitude that you got to keep the dog alive and give it an endless series of second chances, that is 95% of this dangerous dog problem, because they keep them in circulation and they attack people and other animals over and over. That's why we have this problem. What needs to happen is any and all dogs that attack need to be summarily put down. No second chances, no exceptions, period. Whether it's a bullet to the head or the juice at the vet's office. Enough of giving these things second chances. And, you know, ironically, she was actually trying to, you know, she actually did the right thing, at least in this case, in my opinion. She didn't keep the dog around. She wasn't like these idiots with the Huskies that just let the problem escalate until a person was killed.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And here's another thing about the hypocrisy of dog nutters, especially with pit bulls. You hear this all the time. They claim that pit bulls were specifically bred to not have any human aggression. But how were they trained? No, supposedly any pit bull during like dog fights or whatever that even tried to bite his handler, or any pit bull that displayed aggression towards human, was what? Culled, right? Have you not heard pit bull
I've
supporters
heard.
make
Well,
that
that's the assertion.
They say that, but now those same people expect us to continuously rehome dangerous, aggressive, like dogs.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that was a, I guess when I was blogging last decade, because I was hearing a lot of that. It's like, oh, man biters were culled. Well, I guess the operative word there is were, past tense, because they're not culled now, that's for sure.
no,
I
and
mean,
it clearly didn't work very well because they're still biting people all the time.
they're still attacking people. And I don't think so. I think actually, if you go to Dogs Bite, I think Colleen, there's probably on this site, I think she's commented and done some research on that. And the thing is that, well, I guess it depends on the dog. But if you have a champion fighting dog, you know, it's constant, you know, consistently wins matches, you're not going to put that dog down for biting somebody because it's too valuable. Talk about valuable animals. I mean, you know, these dog fights, you know, raise tons of money. Even now that they're illegal, you know, the authorities love to go after them because they'll raid one of these dog fights. There's literally hundreds of thousands of dollars like lying on the table. So back then, yeah, they weren't. I guess if it was a loser dog or maybe a non-fighting pit bull, perhaps, but a championship fighting dog, no, they're not going to put the dog down for biting. The thing was back then, they weren't the fighting dogs. I mean, they were essentially working dogs. So a dog fighter is a level 1 dog person, right? He's not snuggled up on the couch with his championship fighting dog on weekends. That's not the way it works. No, they were kept separate from people and other animals. They weren't, or given very little opportunity to attack people. Again, unlike the dogs today. So yeah, you probably had fewer attacks back then because pit bulls back then, like pre-1975, were pretty much exclusive to dogfighting operations. And there were very few where they were like contained and controlled for the most part. And there were very few pet pit bulls in circulation. I mean, pet pit bulls didn't really become a thing until maybe the 90s. So
Right. Well, it goes back to what you were saying with, like, it was probably better when pit bulls were used openly for dogfighting because
yeah,
people at least recognized then what they are and what they're capable of, and
yep,
didn't put them in the house next to their child's crib.
yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's just, again, like being completely oblivious to reality itself. And you know what I mean? Like, if you're a pit bull lover and a dog fighter, at least you recognize what it is that you have. If you're some like urban 20-year-old, you know, girl who went to the shelter and got like a dangerous pit bull and thinks it's like a cuddling whatever, you know what I mean? Like, there's a big difference there, and you are more dangerous than the dog fighter.
Oh
Because
yeah.
you don't
Oh
know
yeah. I
what's
think,
in it.
well, that was, you know, and I think in Colleen's made the point, I've made the point that really, if you want to get the, you know, the lowdown on pit bulls, yeah, you don't talk to some retarded dog dad or some nutter spewing crap in the internet. You talk to a dog fighter because they know what these dogs are about. And I believe even at the time, you go back in a time machine, say pre-1975, I think even if you'd approached one of them and said, hey, can I have one of your dogs as a house pet? I want to take it back to my suburban neighborhood and, treat him like a human kid. Probably tell you, I mean, I guess he might sell you one if you offered him enough, but he'd be like, you're nuts, pal. Don't do that. These aren't pets. You want a pet, get a cat, not one of these things. Because they knew what they were about. And as far as them, sort of, they anthropomorphize and they say the dogs sort of know the difference and okay, this kind of violence is acceptable, but that kind of violence isn't, right? So it goes back to, I talk about nature of rights, like say self-defense rights. Like it's okay to say shoot somebody in self-defense, but not just some random person. Or it's okay to say varmint feral hogs, but not shoot, say, protected wildlife like bald eagles, right? We understand, as humans, we're smart enough to properly process those important distinctions, but dogs aren't. That's why this whole protection dog thing is such nonsense. They'll, run into a neighbor's yard and attack them because they don't understand the boundaries. They don't know when it's appropriate and when it isn't because they're not smart enough.
That's why mailmen and meter readers are the ones getting bit most of the time, not intruders and burglars or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's because a dog doesn't know that, well, first of all, the mail carriers and utility workers have a right to access those properties. I think it wasn't too long ago, I think a meter reader, power company meter reader in Australia got deleted. But the thing is, that person, like I emphasize, when you subscribe to services, whether it's mail and package delivery or public utilities, you're granting access. Like where I live, because we have above ground power lines, and there's like a feeder line that goes from the pole to my house, and the power company owns all that equipment up to and including the meter. So they don't even need permission. It's happening. They don't need my permission to come on here and read the meter. Actually, they don't need to read it anymore. It's all done wirelessly now. But they do have to, service it occasionally or whatever. And they'll come knock on the door as a courtesy. But if I don't answer, they just go over there and do what they got to do. Because by, subscribing to that public utility, I've, granted them access. They are, in fact, invited guests. I say, yeah, okay, if you want public electricity, you're granting, the power company, access to that equipment that they own. So same thing with the water or landline internet or whatever you got. But the thing is, dogs are too stupid to understand that. They don't understand those distinctions.
And it's ridiculous to think that they would or do, but people seem to actually believe that.
Yeah.
So tiresome.
So tiresome. So that's all that I wanted to cover today. I don't know if you had anything else. Kind of getting on towards noon here. I might wrap it up.
Yeah, I think that covers everything. One last thing I would say too is just with the 4-day-old infant, that story, any story like that is just, I can't think about it for too long. I can't imagine coming home from the hospital and still recovering from birth. Literally 4 days after giving birth, a dog killed the baby. I could never be sane after that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would lose my actual mind.
Yeah. Well, the dog actually belonged to the mother, I think, or I don't know.
I think that's right. But I wanted to say that like pit bulls, actual pit bull, dog fighters are going to give you an accurate understanding of what a pit bull really is.
Yep.
Huskies are the same way. So a husky belongs somewhere in the Arctic, pulling sleds. If a husky exists, it should be existing somewhere like that, away from everyone else.
Yep.
And dogs, mushers or whatever they're called, people who use these dogs as dog sledding or whatever, They know. They don't sleep with the dogs. The dogs are chained up outside with the other dogs, away from the like humans. And if they get stranded out in the permafrost somewhere, they're gonna eat some of the dogs. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Just the idea of having, and I thought that was an old thing too. Like, I read somewhere that like those types of dogs, like Malamutes and Huskies and whatever, were like colloquially known as like baby snatchers or something like that. Because
Yeah.
there's been multiple stories. Like a lot of the time, if you hear about like an infant being snatched out of its crib or bassinet, it's a freaking husky that did it.
Yep.
So, anyways, that's all. That's the last thing I wanted to say, and we
Yeah.
can wrap it up.
All right. Well, it's good talking to you. Actually, I want to make a few remarks about the channel and what's kind of been going on with me. I usually don't talk about myself too much because this isn't about me. It's about the topic. But yeah, I've been working a lot like crazy. Actually, really all year. It's just been murder, and I'm on a big IT project that is really dragging on and on and on. Even this morning, I had to work. I wasn't even sure if I was going to make this call or not. And the thing is that so, and I have other interests also. So the thing is, there's only so much of me to go around. Because sometimes people say, if you put out more material or whatever. And actually, I'd like to, but folks need to understand that you talk about, I don't mean to criticize anybody, but it's kind of like with the farming work. Um, more effort goes into this than probably most people realize. Like if you take, what does it take to actually produce, quote unquote, one of these videos, one of these group calls? And it has some challenges because like for each one, like if you take all the time, I mean, the call itself is, say they average an hour and a half, which is, I guess, pretty typical podcast length. It's not unduly long or short. But so like, okay, so let's say I like this, take this call, for example. I did a fair amount of prep work on this. I did a bunch of due diligence. I typed up a full page and a half of notes that I've been referencing as we've been on here. So each one is going to be at least an hour of prep work. And then it also includes negotiating with guests like yourself. What's a good time for everybody? Is there anything you want to talk about or really don't want to talk about? All that kind of stuff. So each one is probably a minimum hour of prep time. This one is probably 2 hours. So, and then there's a call itself, which is an hour and a half, right? So it consumes an hour and a half. And then when this call is over, later today, I'll listen through the whole thing, probably do some editing, add some chapters, take notes, edit out. If there's something that's said that shouldn't be said or something shown on the screen that shouldn't be shown, I'll either edit it out or superimpose something over. So I got to work on the material. And that's probably another, total to listen through it and do the editing is probably twice the length of the video itself. So that's another 3 hours, right? And then I got to, export it and upload it. That's another half hour. And then if I do a premiere, it's another hour and a half. So the thing is, by the time all's said and done, I've got about a full workday of effort put into this. Right. So you
Yeah, but
figure
you're not getting paid for that.
and I'm not getting, folks, because I'm an IT consultant that gets paid by the hour.
Oh,
So, if you take that, whatever I make net of, say, taxes and work-related expenses. Now, a lot of it, too, is this is a hobby. I don't reduce everything to an economic level. But so you say, okay, when all's said and done, each of these videos probably consumes 6 to 8 hours of my time. And that's like a work day. So if I do one a week, it's like having a second job basically. And I'd like to do more, but I just haven't had, I don't really have the time or the wherewithal to do it. Supposedly my deliverable has been pushed out to the end of this month. After that, I may have some more time to do stuff in the space. I don't know if I was going to bring this. I'll bring it up anyway because my Discord has been, suspended because that was something else that kind of had to go. Like I said, there's only so much of me to go around. So it's like, okay, if I'm at 140% capacity, what needs to go? It's like spending too much money. It's like living past your means. So, that what gets cut is this, right? So I, pulled the plug on the Discord. And I haven't been doing this. I know, like you and I have been communicating on Discord, but it's just more. It just required more time and effort than I was able to put forward. So and folks,
no,
I'm not complaining or anything. It's just that folks need to realize that. Kind of like you're talking about the farming and the ranching. A lot more goes into this stuff than people realize. So you talk about other podcasts. What about, say, Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan probably has a staff of 50 people, right?
Yeah, and he's making millions, and he already has millions. Like, he's good. Can do it all
Yeah,
day
well, that's
long
the
every
thing
day.
is, but he's not like with the editing and stuff. I'm sure he has a whole team that do that, right? And the same thing with even arranging those calls. Like if he wants to have, Tulsi Gabbard on his call, well, he has his, personal assistant make those arrangements. He's not making them. He probably just gets told, oh, yeah, Tulsi is going to be on your show next Thursday. Oh, okay, cool, right? He's not.
Oh, yeah, he's got a whole staff, a whole
Oh,
probably
yeah. Even
creative
some of the
director.
minor, there's even some of the, quote, lesser podcasters. I follow Tim Pool sometimes. Does things, something actually similar, because what I'm doing is kind of patterned after that because he does the same kind of thing. And he maybe has 1/8 the audience that Rogan does, but he talks about how he like he has a whole staff of people, making these arrangements and doing the work, right? And he makes the point. He's like, he's saying I can't get credit for all of it because of, the people working for me, carry a lot of that. But in my case, yeah, I'm just doing it completely. Maybe someday, maybe in, 10 years, we'll have a big production company doing these things. But in the
That would be a
interim,
great goal.
in the interim, no.
Yeah. Well, I've even tried. So I made a YouTube channel because I was hoping to make some of my own content, and pretty much exactly started realizing exactly what you just said. Like, okay, what software should I use to record these calls? I got to figure out how to use this software now.
Yeah.
Oh, if I want different, abilities, I don't really want to paid software. I don't want to have to pay for software because this is just a hobby. So I'm stuck with like these options, which, less production, I guess.
Yeah,
Ability.
less. Even like with Skype calls. And like I said, too, is some people comment on the poor. Sometimes we get poor because I can hear some echoes, but it's sort of like, yeah, because there's professional software you can get. And I'm a software developer. I would actually like to develop some of my own tools. But again, that takes time. That's not something that gets done in an hour.
Right. And time is your most valuable resource. So it only has so much.
Exactly. It's not just time, but it's also just, emotional capital and, effort. Because regularly with my paid job, it's like at the end of the day, if I've been fixing software bugs all day, do I really say, oh, okay, now I'm going to shift gears and work on this other? Like my brain is shot. I just want to stare at the TV and drool for a couple hours.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I finished my job. Time to get fired up about dogs. And
yeah, exactly. It's an interesting project. I was thinking of, developing my own web page, dedicated to this. And I've mentioned that a few times. Right, because a problem with a lot of these canned tools, like say using YouTube or Reddit or Instagram or X or whatever. Those are, that's canned software. So you're restricted to whatever it can do. It's kind of a one size fits all kind of thing. But I would like something that was more like in tune with what I wanted, right? And actually, that's, what Colleen has done. I look at her site because she does web development professionally, I believe. So she developed this site that has all these different, all these different tools on here, all these different sections. And it's, it's broken out just so according to her, requirements. And actually, this is a great site. Like, you couldn't do something like this with Facebook or Instagram or whatever. But the thing is, yeah, developing some, I know I haven't done any web development since the 2000s. I mostly do things like batch jobs, office automation, like back end stuff, right? So not stuff like this. So I'd have a big learning curve there, developing the front end. And, so something like this, she put probably quite a bit of, well, maybe not so much, because if you're a developer with 10 years of experience, maybe you could bang something like this out pretty quick. But then, you need that skill set, right? That's not something that anybody can just sit down and do.
Yeah, exactly. I get it, because like I haven't been able to spin up even one yet.
Yeah. Well, one thing I use, Clipchamp is good for like the video editing. Actually, there's a free version. I get the good version because I have the Microsoft 24/7. So that's like part of it. I think there's a free version you can use in the web though, but there's, learning curve there. And, again, there's some constraints there. You can't, it's not, like Steven Spielberg doesn't use it, it's not that sophisticated. So.
Yep, I get it. And it's also just like you said, the time commitment, and if I want to talk with anyone else, instead of just recording myself talking, we got to schedule like what works for you. Oh,
yep.
You're not able to make it at the last minute. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a lot, but that's why I appreciate what you do. And I'm hoping to be able to contribute my own content at some point, but I also have like a full-time job and kids and hobbies that I like to do that are less stressful than talking about dogs. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I hear that. So anywho, I think I'll wrap it up. So we'll be talking soon. So this is Animal Uncontrol, and as always, people first. Oh wait, one more thing. Pew pew, motherfuckers.
Bye.
Bye.